Hello, hey everybody, my name is Ed. Okay, so we're going to do another quick movie review. This time it's going to be Shivers by David Cronenberg. Okay, so directed by David Cronenberg, Shivers is a 1975 film in which strange parasites infect the residents of an apartment building. The parasites drive the infected people insane and turn some of them into sex maniacs. The doctor and his allies try to discover what is happening to the residents, and things get more and more strange. So it basically starts where a young woman is found murdered by a doctor who swiftly commits suicide in her apartment room. An old colleague of his shows up and eventually becomes involved in the situation. Eventually, we learn that the doctor was part of an experiment to supposedly create a parasite that could replicate the functions of human organs, but something goes wrong, and the parasites seem to drive people mad. The doctor and his nurse have to avoid being molested or killed by the infected people while uncovering what's happening. Okay, so it's a David Cronenberg film, so there's a lot of what they call body horror going on. The parasites are spread through sexual contact and grow in the host body. We see scenes of them growing and protruding through people's stomachs and necks and whatnot. And there's a fair amount of scenes of blood and gore and of the parasites, biting people. So now the subtext is pretty clear. The movie very much touches on the fears and anxieties related to the sexual promiscuity of the era. So it's the mid 70s in America and other countries. This film was made set in Canada. Was in the midst of the sexual revolution, so more people were immersing themselves in premarital sex, even swinging between couples. More LGBT people were coming out of the closet, and this is kind of the post-free love generation. And people of the time were leaning more and more into hedonism of exploring their sexualities. Not so much. Well, I was going to say not so much with the pretense of expanding our minds of consciousness, but there was still a fair amount of that going on. But again, the other side of that is you got teen pregnancies and STDs were common. There was concern amongst the public about the emotional and moral toll that it was taking on some of the public. So now it's an early film by David Cronenberg, so its flaws are pretty noticeable. It's low budget, so the production values aren't very great. There are no great set pieces, and the special effects are pretty minimal. The acting is adequate at best, and a couple of jump scares are actually inadvertently funny. But having said all that, despite its limited budget, you do get some decent gore, and the movie is definitely disturbing with this, like I said, body horror depictions, and overall the atmosphere is sufficiently creepy. So to wrap it up, Shivers is an early effort by David Cronenberg. It's a decent enough movie. It doesn't have super high production values, and it's not super great filmmaking, but it is effective in getting under the viewer's skin. The movie somewhat delivers on the level of being a cheap horror movie, and along the way, it attempts to say a thing or two about the sexual morals of the time. So again, mostly worth watching if you're curious about the director. Again, it's not one of his best. It's not great filmmaking, but obviously, of course, he went on to do a lot, a lot more refined filmmaking and became a lot more renowned, a few years later. Okay, so that's it. So thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it, and you guys have a great day. Thank you very much.